Unlike most global drive programs for new models, the BMW X7 was not focused on one location. So as media from around the planet came to drive this beast, each group had the chance to drive the car across a certain geography. And all the while, the cars kept moving ahead in a relay of sorts, which saw the drive begin at the BMW plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina, all the way to Palm Springs in California in the United States. I had the option to do Las Vegas, Nevada to Los Angeles, California, but having driven in that part of America many times, I chose the much earlier fourth leg, which was Tallahassee, Florida to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as that is one part of the United States I had not seen. It also turned out to be the longest of the 11 routes that the drive was broken into, so the most driving too. The first ever X7 is BMW's answer to the Mercedes-Benz GLS, the Audi Q7, Lexus LX, the Range Rover, Infiniti QX80, Lincoln Navigator and the Cadillac Escalade. All of these are full-size SUVs that offer plenty of grunt, ample proportions and the all-important third row of seating. In India, we don't have to worry about the Infiniti, Lincoln or Cadillac, but the rest certainly are very much in play. Yet it is the highly successful Mercedes-Benz GL turned GLS that has captured a lot of this market worldwide. So the BMW X7 had to deliver on performance, but more so on comfort, sophistication, luxury, and yes, good looks. So that last part is questionable for many, mainly because of the monstrosity of a big kidney grille up front. The largest in BMW's history. Having spent some time with the car, I have surprised myself how I am now totally okay with it. Even though it looks like it can eat you whole. The car with me is the X7 xDrive 40i in the new Design Pure Excellence trim. Large and imposing, it certainly is. The biggest car that they've ever made for the X range in BMW's history, and so a 3100mm wheelbase. Yeah, get that around your head. There are certain cars that will fit into that footprint. You've got different kind of options when it comes to wheels. 20 to 22 inch patterns will vary. This is of course different, and the M Sport will get a two-tone finish. You've also got a lot of high gloss black finishes on the different pillars. Looks nice, makes the car look a little bit more lit. This particular trim does also get the satin finish on the window graphic. Of course, that would be black in the M Sport as well. Lots of chrome bits around, which I think a lot of the Indian buyers are going to really like. I would prefer mine with black finish, I can tell you. But like I said, that part is customizable. In the front, the largest ever kidney grille, again in BMW's history. It is massive, it is in your face, and you know what? When you spend a little time with the car, you get kind of used to it, starts to work. New graphic for the daytime LED lights. Again, lots of chrome down here in the bumper, which would be different on the M Sport trim. The air curtain also finished off in chrome, and just a sense of all that power, because you've got different engine configurations, remember, but the whole idea here, the focus, if you will be on the power that's under this hood. So the muscle here in the metal, again, gives you a sense of that, which visually, I think works for the car. It makes the car look imposing, but it doesn't make it look intimidating, and I think that is a good balance that it's managed to strike. LED lights are standard, while you can opt for the laser light option if you pay more. The X7 is being launched with 4 engines, 2 diesel and 2 petrols. The X7 xDrive 30D has a 3-litre inline-6 with 260 bhp on tap. The M50D sees the same engine tuned to deliver 392 bhp. On the petrol side, you have the 40i with petrol inline-6 with 333 bhp power and the top-spec petrol V8 with 453 bhp. That one is just for the US. All engines have the 8-speed Steptronic auto gearbox as standard. Given I was driving in America, there was no hope of getting my hands on the diesels anyway, and that is why I picked the 40i for my drive. Because yes, it's coming to India. As you can imagine, the xDrive all-wheel drive system is standard across the range, but so is the 2-axle air suspension, active steering, and electric active roll stabilizers. The flagship of the range and so the epitome of everything. I think I have to stop repeating that because of course it's so true in the context of this car. Everything you've seen on the 7 Series and then more recently on the X5, of course you get it on this car. So you've got the voice assistant system, you know, the one I'm not going to name right now because it'll start talking to me. You've also got the 12.3-inch screens including the virtual cluster, all updated graphics, the latest iteration of the iDrive system as well with this crafted clarity, they call it, the little crystally, blingy, mirrory image, mirrory finish that you see down here on the gear stick as well as on the iDrive knob and controller and the start-stop switch. It is nice because it's finished really well, so it doesn't come across as gimmicky or cheap in any way. And then to complement all of that bling, some of the other surfaces are really nice. This muted metal finish on the door handles and some of the switches. Excellent craftsmanship, really good material quality, and it looks really nice, like I said. On the whole, you get a sense of being sort of wrapped around in great luxury and yet a lot of technology and the latest features. Commanding driving position, no doubt about it. You've of course got the 8 different fragrances on the ambient air now, so you can have different themes as well for the interior. That includes 6 different colors on the ambient light as well. So yeah, I could go on and on. You name it, and this car has it. And like I said, the good part is it's complemented by a sense of power. You get a nice view of this big hood in front of you when you're driving, and it gives you that sense of this being a big, powerful car, which I think is important. The front cup holders have optional heating or cooling to keep your beverage hot or cold as you prefer. The flagship of the BMW X range, and so no surprise, it is the lap of luxury. Everything that you have from the brand thrown at you for sure, and the big standout design feature, you get 6 seats instead of the 7-seater standard configuration for the first time, and so this is optional, if you will, and the standard seat, if you want to call it that, will be the full bench, though that's also electrical in terms of its folding operation to get to the rear. But the point I'm trying to make, for the Indian context, I think these individual captain seats, as we like to call them, will certainly be a big hit. They're really comfortable, the best leather, I mean, I don't have to tell you that, best craftsmanship and materials all around. Bars and Wilkins sound system, the speakers, really nice pattern here in terms of the display, and great materials, lots of leather. You've got these electric screens, of course, that go up and down, the sun screens, and you've got this massive panoramic sunroof. There is a glass section for the 3rd row, but I'll talk about that in a second. And the sunroof itself has that inbuilt ambient lighting. Remember, you saw it on the 7 Series for the first time, 15,000 patterns possible with different kind of light colors. That's crazy. 10.2-inch screens, individual ones back here. Again, no surprise, these are inbuilt and you're getting this for the first time as a standard feature. Touchscreen, thank God, no rotary dials anywhere, and you can control the car's functions, navigation, music, climate control, interior, ambient lighting, everything from in here. And of course, you can also watch something if you want to. And so you've got a DVD player down there and individual headphone jacks too. Speaking of individual points, you've got 2 USB charging points. You've also got the power outlet, 2 cup holders, lots and lots of leg room, because yes, this is the largest wheelbase car from the BMW X range ever. So space, of course, no surprise whatsoever. Individual dual zone climate control, and the operation is down here with these screens and individual vents, of course. And that's not all. There is still more to talk about when it comes to the interior. The BMW X7 is also the first at the Bavarian company to offer 3-row seating as standard. No car ever gets a 3rd row that's ample in terms of comfort. Given that understanding, and yes, given the fact that you accept the legroom isn't going to be generous, this is a fairly comfortable rear seat, and I have to say that the back angle is especially nice. The seat itself can fold down electrically to give you more cargo space and all kinds of configuration options.
The sense of space back here, I think, is the one big credit to it, because you've got this good amount of glass area here, which makes you feel not kind of cramped and cooped up like some of the third rows do. The fact that you also get your own bit of the panoramic roof is also nice, and so the sense of space, therefore, it's nice. You don't feel claustrophobic back here. Your own cup holder, you've got your own little USB charging point, and yeah, I have to say it's been nicely finished, but then you kind of expected that given the fact that this is the X7.
Throw in the really neat roof-mounted AC controls, and the third row really does not come across as an afterthought, but rather ample in its overall offering. And it still leaves some room for luggage, 326 liters to be precise. Fold down that third row and you get 750 liters. Also fold down the second row and it's a mammoth 2120 liters of cargo space. The second and third row seats can be manipulated and folded using buttons at the driver end up front, at the egress points from both the rear doors and also from the boot. This includes being able to slide any of the front or second row seats so that the driver, for instance, can provide instant room or access without having to get out and do it manually. That is pretty neat and somewhat like the configurable seating on the Land Rover Discovery. The boot has a split tailgate that is electrically foldable, of course, a nice feature that's rather practical when loading cargo. It also reduces the weight and bulk of what would otherwise have been a very large and heavy door. Much of that trim is also customizable, of course, with 4 wood trims to choose from, an additional M Sport trim and 3 more wood finishes in the BMW individual lineup. There are also 3 qualities of leather with 8 to 9 color options for them collectively. Even the car's roof headliner finish on the inside can be done in ivory, blue or grey Alcantara. I did get ample drive time with the X7, but I want to state up front that it involved no off-roading whatsoever. That said, the xDrive all-wheel drive does give you the X off-road modes that lets you choose between X sand, X rocks, X gravel and X snow for varying surfaces and terrains. This is similar to what we've seen on the X5 of late, and it did work effectively on that car. This is in addition to the usual Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro drive modes. The air suspension allows for the chassis to be raised or lowered by 40 mm from its standard position. While the 40 mm rise helps the off-road modes, the Sport mode sees it dropping by 20 mm. At standstill, you can also drop an additional 20 mm for cargo loading or allowing easy ingress to passengers.
There's lots of driver assistant features on board, including all of the lane keep assist and semi-autonomous features as well, which will keep the car at a particular speed, guide you through traffic and watch the lane markings to keep you going. You can take your hands off the wheel, though only momentarily. You have to keep reminding the car that you're there. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you've now gotten used to hearing in most of our reviews. So of course the X7 does all of that and does it well.
The car's active steering will turn the rear wheels in the opposite direction at speeds below 60 km per hour. This will help with maneuvering in and out of parking spots, tight turns, and in traffic in general. At speeds higher than 60 km per hour, the rear wheels will turn in the same direction as the front to allow for agility and greater stability. This helps counter some of the car's very obvious bulk.
Now the thing potential buyers would want to know about this car, how's the ride quality? Now, given the massive wheelbase, you expect a fair amount in terms of comfort, and yes, it does deliver on that front. Having said that, the particular spec that we're driving today, well, it has 22-inch wheels, and so in some places that hasn't felt quite as comfortable as you'd like, but I'm pretty sure that India will not be getting those huge wheels, and so yeah, you can be pretty much assured of a very comfortable ride. And the reason I sort of stress on that is because two things kind of struck me as a little bit odd today. even when you look at the flagship on the sedan side, which is the 7 Series, there's always talk about performance first. It's more about that it is a driver's car because it's a BMW. This is the first time that, whether it's the route selection or even the kind of briefing or conversations we've had from the experts, it is more about the comfort and the luxury aspect on this car, because see who it's going up against. When you talk about a car like the GLS, yeah, nobody's really thinking about driving performance. And the second thing, of course, which I said struck me is that in the Indian context, that becomes even more relevant because, come on, those of you who are watching who are going to buy this car, you're not going to be sitting in this seat, are you?
And yet the good news, or should I say the big relief for me, is that the car does actually pack in some great performance too.
Given the sheer length, just the overall dimensions, the weight of this car, you go into it thinking, yes, it's a BMW, but it can only do so much. I'm glad to be surprised there, because even though I was making that point about how, the focus of this drive doesn't seem to be on dynamics, the good news is that the X7 delivers. It is a true BMW, it is a driver's car, and its agility will surprise you. You do not get a sense of roll from it as well, and launching itself into a corner, it comes out nice and flat. You can take those corners, again, a little more surprisingly well than you expect. So yeah, I have to say that even though we haven't had an out-and-out dynamic experience, out on this little twisty beach road, I've managed to push the car a little bit, and it has come through with flying colors. The 3-litre inline-6 also sounds really nice. In fact, a little better than I expected it would. The amount of torque you get from the engine, I think, is the real satisfying part of it, because it's available to you in truckloads and nice and low as well. The anti-roll bar and the independent air suspension certainly plays exactly the role it's meant to, gives you great stability and really no sense of roll whatsoever.
The optional M Sport differential is only standard on the top spec diesel X7 M50D. It helps limit the equalization of rotational speeds of the wheels on the inside and outside of a corner, keeping the car stable and in control in very dynamic driving situations. Now, before you can ask, I did step into the second and third rows while being driven for shorter stretches of mixed road types. And yes, it was no surprise just how comfortable I was, especially in row 2. So just like the car has different drive modes, every once in a while I have to force myself to also get into different modes, and so I've engaged what I guess I should call the boss mode, or what I think a lot of us in India would better understand as Sethji mode. But I was quickly back in the driver's seat, thank you very much, and continued to try the car's features and various drive modes. The 11.8-inch head-up display is very well laid out and offers plenty of information, including graphical representation of upcoming turns or junctions from the navigation system, wireless charging, all kinds of smartphone connectivity options, and yes, that includes Apple CarPlay. In India, expect a lot of these features to be standard, as the car is likely to be offered in only one fully loaded trim. This is due to the kind of clientele that BMW would expect for it, as also the constraints of assembling the car in Chennai using CKD kits. The BMW X7 will come to us in the later part of the year with the xDrive 40i petrol and the xDrive 30D diesel as the likely engines. Prices should range from 90 lakh rupees to 1 crore 15 lakh rupees.